A few days ago, Joe Merrick from Cerebi tweeted something that made me think quite a bit. He said that he didn't want more remakes in the future, that he would prefer something in the same region but with a different story. And I can really argue against that. It does sound amazing. But when some of my favorite games are actually remakes, I'm a little bit torn. So hey, I'm not so a strainer, and what about no more remakes? Let's get into it. Pokémon remakes. They happen usually once per generation ever since Gen 3 when we got Pokémon Fire Red and Pokémon Leaf Green, with Gen 5 being the odd one out, and Gen 9 still possibly adding to that list since it is still a bit early to know for sure. Up until, I wanna say, Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee, remakes were very well received, with Pokémon Heart Gold and Pokémon Soul Silver being on top of my favorite Pokémon game lists everywhere, including my own. But Let's Go had that, oh no, it's Kanto again vibe to it, and BDSP was a very bare bones remake, a 1-to-1 basically, plus it came in a very poor state. That did not help. Not only that, we also got the release of Pokémon Legends Arceus just 2 months after BDSP, which showed a new take, or an old take, on a region where we've been before. This opened up the possibilities for what a place we already know can still offer us. Not only in the future, but also in the past. And we can't forget that this wasn't our first time experiencing this type of approach, since Gen 5 did have a direct sequel that explored the same region, Unova, 2 years apart, and before that we had Gen 2 letting you explore Kanto once more 3 years after you did it in Gen 1. Still, that's a more complicated case, since while a direct sequel, it happens in a new region for most of the game, and then it also got remade, which gives us a remake sequel. Still, in order to understand why they should move on from remakes, we have to understand why they remake their games in the first place. And that's very easy. I could sit here and say, oh, it's all because new players have never experienced those regions, they never lived through those adventures, and so they want to give that to them, without them having to sell a kidney for a new copy. But I don't think that's the case. There might be a little bit of that there, but it's mostly because nostalgia sells very well. Pokémon, as a franchise, leans very heavily on the power that nostalgia has over people. Seeing something that you used to love being done again makes you want to watch it or play it or buy it. But there's a very interesting thing happening in Pokémon over the last few years. The first thing was Dexit, a franchise that uses nostalgia as their main weapon, and at that point, let's just say they had more than 800 weapons. Cutting that number down means that they made a conscious decision of maybe losing some people due to them not having their favorites, the ones that bring them nostalgia. And then we said goodbye to Ash in the anime, we said goodbye to the yellow borders on the TCG in favor of the silver ones, which look a lot better, let's be honest, and we experienced Pokémon Legends Arceus, which showed us a brand new kind of nostalgia weapon, the region and the characters. Nostalgia happened as we traveled through Sinnoh, a very different kind of Sinnoh because Hisui is Sinnoh but doesn't look a lot like it on the first glance, but the region was filled with ancestors of characters we knew, plus Ingo was there. People were very happy. So it is possible that they are testing the waters for a different approach in the future, though it's hard to imagine them saying goodbye to remakes. They are easier games to get done, they have the characters, the Pokemon, the plot. It's an easy game to cover the off years where there's no new gen or DLC. And people will buy them. BDSP sold fairly well despite the criticism it faced. If they decided to just, for example, make the original games available through the NSO service, it would be a year where profits would be a lot lower in the games department than they're used to. But as I said in the beginning, it's really hard for me to just say that I don't want more remakes ever, because I do love my remakes. But I also do understand that the remake dagger is looming over the final games before the 3D era. I can see X and Y being remade because it's kind of a chibi thing, but looking at Alola for example, I don't see a remake happening for Alola. A remaster and a port, sure, that's fine, but a remake? That feels so unnecessary. On the other hand, imagining Pokémon Z coming out where Lysander actually survived since we never had the confirmation of his death, and him realizing that the true way to really have everyone under its power is through controlling Zygarde, now that would make some interesting game. Or a game taking place in Alola, but instead of going island to island, you're exploring Ultra Space. Alola is your base of operations and you do move through the region, but the Ultra Space is where most of your adventure takes place. This would also make regions like Kanto not be as bad to see again, as things would be changed there. Even if it is mostly the same, the plot is different. Maybe a few new gym leaders or Elite Four members. Maybe even a new champion with Lance taking a different role. The possibilities in Pokemon are endless, and while I do love the remakes of the past and I will keep replaying them from time to time with a big smile on my face, we're getting to a point where there's a need for those possibilities to finally be explored and for us to see old friends with a brand new set of eyes. And that is all I have for you today. I agree with what Joe Merrick said, despite me loving the remakes of the past, yes, even BDSP. But what about you? Remakes or no remakes? Let me know in the comments down below. And now, like the video if you like it, dislike if you don't, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more Pokemon content. You can follow me on social media and Twitter in there Wednesday to Friday. All the links are in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all on the next one.